Not sure what happened there. We ended up restarting everything real quick there, but I'm Jim. Welcome to your morning cup of cyber. Virginia's wrapping our cup of Illy coffee up as we get started with today. And today we're continuing on with our Security Plus track, and we're going to be looking deeper into social engineering and why social engineering attacks work. So join us right after the brief intro, and we'll get right back to it. And we're off, talking quickly about what's going on with social engineering. So, social engineering, a lot of times we'll equate this with phishing. And phishing is one of the biggest parts of social engineering. It's why we get a lot of attacks on our internal networks, on our home networks, because people fall for phishing. You get an email, you click the link, like we talked about yesterday. Phishing, where maybe you got something on your phone, you click that link and you go for it. But why? Why in the heck do people click the link? Why do people fall for it? Why is it effective? And that's really what we're talking about this morning is those social engineering principles of effectiveness, or why do people fall for social engineering attacks? And really it goes back to the psychology of how people are wired and why we do the things we do, right? So one of the principles we talk about is authority. And this is when an attacker uses a ploy to attempt to assume the influence of a person in a position of power, right? So they pretend they're somebody in power. They use that power of somebody else and try to get you to do something. The hope is the attacker can use this assumed authority to gain access to resources they're not authorized access to. And that's really the point of a lot of these attacks is we're trying to get access to something. We're trying to get you to click something. We're trying to get you to allow something. That's what's the point here. Authority principle can also be employed when the attacker uses the authority of some other person or organization in their attack. They'll say, we're doing this, especially right now. The CDC says we should do this because of this. Click this link to learn more, or click this link because it's going to show the outages in your area. They're going to use either a position of authority within an organization, or they're going to use a position of authority in society overall to try to get you to click a link or do something that the attacker wants you to do. Intimidation is closely related to authority, right? So we can take that further. If we're assuming that position of authority, if we're trying to use that, we can use that to try to intimidate someone. So in this attack, the attacker impersonates someone of position of power or authority, or they use that power to try to intimidate you to do something. The attacker can use threats or other methods to attempt to intimidate the victim. You've got to do this, or the one we see a lot of times with the IRSs. If you don't, pay this, the IRS is going to come arrest you. We're going to try to intimidate you, or you're going to lose your job, or something like that. Again, trying to get unauthorized access to resources, right? That's the main point about this, is we're trying to get, as an attacker, we're trying to get you, the victim, or you, the user, to give us permission to your system, to click a link, or to give information up, or some other method of getting access to resources, right? So consensus, that's when the attacker uses consensus. They're trying to persuade the victim by using internet articles or other sources to prove that they're attempting to be legitimate, what they're trying to do. They may also use fake referrals, like, hey, we already talked to your friend, or we already talked to your coworker, and we helped them out. Or a lot of people in your organization really have found this to be a benefit. Click here to find out more. Or give us your information and we'll send you this resource. So they're going to try to build consensus around their case, why they want you to do the thing that they're trying to get you to do. And that's really social engineering. Again, we're taking that psychological approach and we're pushing it towards the attacker, and we're trying to get them to do something that we want them to do. We're trying to get them, a lot of times it's just click a link or go to a website. If we can do that, a lot of times as the attacker, game over, right? That's really what we want to do. We want to get there. I'd throw the Security Plus up above it where it belongs, up there. Right? Another way, scarcity. We see this one all the time, right? When the attacker uses the scarcity technique, They highlight the possibility that something of value may not be available in the future. Right? They state that the offering is limited supply and the victim is enticed to make a hasty decision. When we can get someone to make a quick decision, a lot of times they're not thinking it all the way through, right? Right now it might be, hey, if you click this link right now, get a free, big pack of toilet paper or something like that. Since it's all, we're running out everywhere. So we're going to say maybe it's a limited availability, right? We often tie this in with urgency, which we're going to talk about later. But scarcity is this thing, whatever I'm offering, is not going to be offered to everyone. It's only going to be offered for a limited time. There's only a limited supply. We're trying to force the user into making a hasty decision, to being quick on their actions, and maybe not think it through all the way. So a lot of times we'll use scarcity to try to drive that point forward, right? Next, familiarity. And this takes a little bit of time for the attacker to build up familiarity, right? They attempt to be your friend. They become your friend. They're hoping that the familiarity principle will assist them in fooling the victim, right? Like other principles, the attacker will use familiarity in an attempt to gain access to resources they're not authorized to by tricking the victim. So this may be a little longer play. They may take some time to build up some friendship. They may do it on social media, and they may, over time, build up the friendship, this familiarity, and then when they send you the link or when they send you to a website, you're more likely to go to it because you know who that person is. You think you do, right? And sometimes, depending on who you are and what the attack's all about, it may be worth them to take a month or two to build up a relationship with the victim to get in, especially if they're going for, a high-level target like a C-level person in an organization or an administrator. So it may be a longer plan to get access to something. So they may target an administrator or target a high-level officials in an organization and build a relationship over time. So that's one thing we have to worry about too, is this familiarity. Another thing is trust. And we may take that familiarity to another level. We're going to build that trust with the victim to help conduct the attack. So we could take familiarity and extend that out a little bit more and build trust around it. We also may be conveying the fact that we're trying to solve a problem you have. So if we know you have a problem, hey, you know me, I can help you out with that. If you're having a problem with the IRS, I know a way we can get around it. Check this link out or check this web page out. We build trust around the victim. They trust us. And then, therefore, they're more likely to fall for what we're sending them to. And then finally, the final principle we're going to talk about this morning is urgency. And it's urgent I take a cup of coffee. So in urgency, we're trying to make the victim act hastily, make them act quickly. Maybe there's a limited time frame or a limited supply. Maybe we use this recent events to drive the urgency forward. So we're making it an urgent event. It's important that they do something quickly. It's an urgent thing. Do it now. So we can time this with other things like scarcity, and it becomes a way to drive this social engineering attack forward. So I'm Jim with Cyber-Recon, telling you more about Security Plus exam, why social engineering works, and what you should look out for. This is part of a more in-depth class that we'll be offering at Cyber-Recon, but know that we're going to be offering every single module at the basic state online this month in April. So if you want more in-depth, I'll throw the link below where you can look at the course. But as always, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining.